Hey everybody, MorbTron here. So Bungie did an interesting thing yesterday. It was a long time coming, much overdue. They made changes to how matchmaking is done in Crucible. Now, the things that they didn't touch, as far as matchmaking goes, is for elimination, survival, freelance survival, and Trials of Osiris. But everything else they removed, completely removed, skill-based matchmaking. And if you didn't know, skill-based matchmaking basically took a hidden rank that Bungie would give people that would go up or down based off of wins in Crucible matches, and you would be assigned a number. And that number would go up or down after a win or a loss, and Bungie would use that number to basically rank you compared to other players. This is known as like ELO or ELO. And there was no place in the game or on Bungie's website to look up that rank. You'd have to go to a third-party website like Destiny Tracker in order to do so. That really wasn't the issue, though. The issue was what Bungie decided to do with it. Over the years, Bungie has done things where, you know, skill-based matchmaking has been turned down and it's been more connection-based, kind of like what they said Classic Mix was prior to this change. You know, more connection-based matchmaking. If you're going for, you know, more skilled or more skill-based matchmaking, turn on, go to control, that sort of thing. But even in Classic Mix, before this change, they had what was called team balancing. And they don't mention team balancing specifically in the This Week at Bungie blog post today, but from the, I would say, like 10 or so Crucible matches I've played shortly after this change went live, I could definitely feel that it was a lot better. Now, they said they made this change for a lot of reasons, and not just to make the Crucible less sweaty, but in the end, that's what it did. Along with some other things that they claimed it was for, but I'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, so what Bungie would do is they would take your rank, and this is how team balancing works. They would take your rank, your ELO, and they would add it together with everyone else on your team, and then average it out, and do the same for the enemy team, and try to balance those numbers as closely as possible. And this would lead to some pretty interesting matches, especially if one or two people on one team were way above average or way below average. It would basically skew or throw off the entire rest of that specific team, which could lead to some very interesting mashups of player skill on each team, sometimes to the very bad effect. But that seems to be gone for the most part now, or at least it's a lot better. And as far as skill-based matchmaking goes, and it going primarily to connections, the two very first matches I queued up for this, oh, by the way, before I go any farther, the footage you're watching is of Crucible matches after this change went live. I'm using Bastion. Even though I'm a fusion rifle guy, I don't really use Bastion. I haven't used Bastion all that much because it doesn't feel like a fusion rifle to me, but I was using it in this footage and I really enjoyed it, and I decided to throw on an auto rifle just because even though I would rather use a hand cannon because I'd prefer them, my aim is kind of rusty, so I haven't played the game basically for about a month. So I decided to throw on an auto rifle, make it a little bit easier on myself, and did pretty good. I did very good. So there's that. I enjoyed myself, but like I said, the very two first matches I queued up for, after reading the changes to skill-based matchmaking, it being removed, I was giddy with excitement because they said we're going to shorten queue times, we're going to improve connection quality, and I was behind that. I said, heck yes. I queued up for some control and immediately got Beaver error coded. And I queued up again and got Beaver error coded, and I started to have nightmare flashbacks of when Season 10 started, and just the constant Beaver errors. But luckily, 2 was it, and I was able to connect to matches after that consistently without any major problems. But what I will say is that most of my matches did start out as a 5v6, sometimes a 5v5, so even though the connection quality did seem to be better, and there wasn't a whole lot of lag in the matches, they weren't maybe completely full matches on start all the time. Sometimes it was even down to like a 3v6, the worst case. But as far as shortening queue times, I didn't really notice a decrease in queue time, but I play at a more peak time in the Midwest, in the United States anyway, so being in the middle of the country, I kind of get people from all over the country playing during my queue time, or my play time. So if I was on the very West Coast or the very East Coast, I might notice more of an effect for the queue times, and especially like if you live overseas in a different part of the world, that sort of thing, I could definitely see where this could, in fact, greatly shorten queue times. But since I'm in the middle of the United States, wasn't that big of a change for me, but I do appreciate the effort. And they also wanted to make Crucible less sweaty. They want to provide more places where the outcome of the match isn't as important as enjoying the experience. I don't know if Bungie's trying to trick themselves there. If it's Crucible, if it's PvP, if it's player versus player, it is always going to be a slightly competitive experience at least. Because people want to win. You know, even if people do really good, let's say you drop we run out of medals, you get even like a 40 bomb, you know, 50 kills, that sort of thing in a match. If you lose, it still kind of feels bad no matter what. So, I mean, there's that. And they said they also wanted to play into the strengths of the Crucible, and sometimes Bungie likes to use words from the English language that nobody uses in everyday conversation. They called Crucible bombastic and frenetic, which makes sense. I mean, it's loud, it's fast-paced, it's energetic, and it's sometimes chaotic. I mean, that definitely fits into bombastic and frenetic, but come on, Bungie, use words that people use in the English language. I appreciate trying to sound fancy with it, but there's no need to church it up. But anyway, so I do appreciate the effort from Bungie. Their number one bullet point was to respond to community feedback. We've only been saying for 5 years to just completely remove skill-based matchmaking, and it would be a much better experience. That being said, it is going to be a much better experience for players that are average or above average. If you are below average, you're going to have a little bit harder of a time in the Crucible. You're probably going to get more losses than wins. So we'll kind of have to see how the community responds to this over an extended period of time, and see how the entire player base, not just the people at the tippy top, and not just the people, you know, in the middle, like myself, but everybody throughout the entire spectrum of the community, how they like the changes. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I'll leave you with the rest of this footage that I have. Hopefully you enjoy it. If you did like this video, leave a like for me. I would greatly appreciate it. If you are new here, subscribe for more Destiny content. I'm trying to do daily uploads, but it's hard to go from not doing that to going back to it at the flip of a switch. So I've been busy lately. But anyway, do not forget to have a good day, everybody, and be nice to each other. And I'll catch you all next time.
Amazing! 'You're dominating the field. Don't let up. Zone A lost. Five minutes left. Keep it up. Zone B captured. Power play. Keep the pressure on. Zone C locked. Yes. Now show them the true meaning of war. Zone A locked. Shut the enemy down. Tell them to line up faster. Zone C captured. You have advantage. Three minutes. You're winning. Stay strong. I envy your strength. Hold down. Hold down. I can't believe what I'm seeing.